Sneeko with the 5. Thank you so much, bro. Appreciate that. Amila with the 10. What the hell? What's up? Thank you. What's going on, everybody? What a crazy start of the night. Once again, thank you, bro. Sneeko, I appreciate it, man. Speaking of Sneeko, you guys in the Discord, you guys translated some gorillas. They translated this text. I don't even know where it's from, but it was translated into English about the history of Islam and socialism, like before modern times, right? And I actually found it very interesting. I read it, and even there's things in there I didn't know, you know? And immediately I sent it to Sneeko on X. So good job. It's an interesting dialogue that's happening, you know? It's an interesting thing going on. And even I'm learning things, you know? And we see the way that the wind is blowing. And it's absolutely clear that there's a new awakening happening in the nation, you know? Rain, what's up, man? I mean, this idea that we're being told, it's not possible to say anymore, right? To maintain that Islam is a completely foreign thing. It has no place in America. Well, the truth is the history of America and Islam are starting to intersect in very interesting ways. Also through socialism, right? So this is a very interesting development and turn of events, and we absolutely want to be at the avant-garde. We absolutely want to be at the forefront of this dialogue, this conversation that's happening. Frightful with the 5. What's going on, bro? Appreciate you so much. What's going on? Yeah, I mean, I see it. Honestly, I was just actually going to cover this today because there's a clip of Hasan reacting to Candace Owens, right? Fu, what's up, man? And I have to say, you know, everything is lining up for a new awakening. Everything is lining up for a new coalition to form. I mean, the battle lines could not be fucking clearer, right? And still, I'm looking at Hasan and I'm looking at others from that milieu, but especially Hasan should be smart enough, right? I understand some of these older DSA people. There are a lot of left liberal Zionist gatekeepers, Zionist Jewish gatekeepers that are in the DSA and on the American left. But people like Hasan and others, it's like, Candace is literally giving Hasan the largest handshake in the world, right? Like, literally everything is lined up. Candace and Hasan are being attacked together. Candace is being really nice and respectful to Hasan. Like, hey, listen, it looks like we're on the same team. These divisions are, you know, shouldn't be at fundamental anymore. They shouldn't be at the forefront. And the thing that fucking worries the shit out of me, if you're talking about me, I am someone on the left. I consider myself a real left-winger, right? And the thing that I worry about for the future of the American left or the anti-Zionist movement, whatever you want to call it, it's like Hasan just doesn't get it yet. And he's still like shunning Candace Owens. Oh, you're an anti-Semite. You have to be at arm's length. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? So are you siding with the fucking Republican right against Candace? And it's like, the same thing probably is happening with Sneeko, I would imagine, right? So it's just, you see this big shift happening. There's people that previously were categorized that they were coming from the right wing. They're lending out their hand for a handshake. And then the thing that worries me is that these fucking DSA people, or even Hasan, is going to be too stupid in his head, going to be too arrogant. He's going to spit on their hand. That's going to be a calamitous fuck up, right? I'm going to tell you why it's going to be a calamitous fuck up. And somebody needs to tell Hasan this shit. Like, I don't know, someone close to him needs to fill him in on this. You're not going to win this nation. You're going to find this out in the midterms, I promise you. You're not going to win this nation by solely relying on people that are already in the liberal left or already what you consider the left. They're just not enough. You're not going to win the country if you're just in this insular bubble of gatekeepers and you're looking at giant, extremely fucking powerful, popular personalities like Candace Owens and mocking them and shunning them and refusing to have a civil conversation. You need people that were considered right-wing in the past. You need people that are not part of this cookie-cutter liberal left if you want to actually win the country. Because yes, the sweeping, Victories are happening in the Democratic primary for sure. But everything depends on the midterms, especially in Michigan. Michigan and Florida and other kind of swing states or whatever they call them, when the midterms come and it's going to be these Republicans versus these DSA left, liberal types, you're going to realize how important it was to reach out to people who used to be considered part of the right wing if you lose severely, right? And it's like, look, do I agree with Candace Owens about everything? Of course I fucking don't, right? Candace Owens says this shit about Bolsheviks. I completely fucking reject it, okay? This is literally Lenin right here, and this is Mao Zedong right here. So of course I fucking reject that. But at the end of the day, isn't it possible to disagree about history while being aligned in terms of where we are, in terms of political reality? Who are our enemies and who are our friends? I could sit down in a room with Candace Owens and disagree with her about history from dusk till dawn, okay? But right now, not 100 years ago, right now, who is the enemy right now? Who is trying to destroy and usurp all of the civil liberties and rights bestowed by the U.S. Constitution, which is all we have right now when you think about it? Meringue with the 10, what's up? Who right now as we speak is plotting to conspire to enslave us, to loot and plunder everything that the American people have, to drive us into these wars, these suicidal wars that will kill and pillage and devastate significant parts of the planet and of mankind? Who's fucking doing that? Where are our priorities? If Candace, and this is my message directly to Hasan Piker, if Candace Owens, if Tucker Carlson, if this emerging coalition of people that used to come from the right, Sneeko is one of them, by the way, if you are going to if you're going to shut the door to all of these people and think that you're going to be able to take on the Republican right just with the DSA, liberal left, you're fucking very mistaken, okay? You are very, very fucking mistaken. You are not doing something. You're not playing. You think you're going to win over. This is what Piker doesn't understand. Probably half of the Democratic Party are right-wing, fundamentally right-wing, meaning they will never, ever, ever be won over to you. He is setting himself up to get fucked. I have to just be so fucking blunt and frank about this. I mean, I don't know Piker. Someone who knows him has to fucking tell him, okay? You keep bitching and complaining every day that these Democrats would rather have Trump over the DSA people, right? Like Bill Maher and whatever. And you loudly express your frustration and, okay, it's time to stop whining about it and accept the fact that it is true. Yes, half of the Democratic Party will go to the Republican right, and they will choose the Republican right over an anti-Zionist left. So if the anti-Zionist left wants to have a chance at fighting the Republican right, you have to actually reach out to all these people that you consider, cancelable and problematic. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Sneeko, Ian Carroll, you name it. This whole milieu of people that may not be 100% aligned with you ideologically on everything, especially not on the cultural stuff, but fundamentally agree with you about anti-imperialism, opposing the Epstein regime, opposing these foreign interventions, opposing Israel, opposing AIPAC, opposing money in politics. These are really fundamentally important. Why is the dividing line about nebulous cultural bullshit? Why is transgenderism the dividing line? It's fucking suicidal how fucking stupid it is, okay? Everyone can have their views about these things, but we have to pick and choose our battles. And I don't want to see the anti-Zionists that are coming from within the Democrats to lose. Of course I don't want to see them lose. When Marjorie Taylor Greene was starting to who's far to the left of anyone in the Democratic Party when you think about it, when she started standing up, you think I was against Marjorie Taylor Greene? She was a Republican. Do I support Republicans? No. But if people in the Democratic Party are starting to become anti-Zionist, and for all of you people who think that this is complete bullshit, the red line for me is always Russia, because that just determines who you are, right? Like, if you are supporting Ukraine, like Kate Abu Ghazala or whatever, or Taiwan, usually it means you're a liberal Zionist, right? But it's so interesting because there's at least one of these DSA candidates in New York who hates Ukraine. But 50% of the Democrats are full Slava Ukraini, Slava Israel type of people, many of whom are gatekept by very powerful old liberal Ellis Island Jewish establishments that came 100 or so years ago. And so you need to understand that it is suicidal strategy. It is suicidal strategy to gatekeep the left and just assume wrongly. But you know it's not the case, Hasan Piker. You know it's not true, right? It's so interesting because I wanted to talk about this. This was literally the topic I wanted to talk about tonight, but it's so expedient. Guys, I'm streaming so late nowadays, and we need to go back to our old schedule of like 8 p.m., 9 p.m., right? But anyway, look, I'm not going to continue, ranting about it. In any case, okay, Hasan is waiting for the outcome he knows is going to happen. He wants to get to a point where there will be some decisive confrontations between the DSA left and the Republican right. And he wants to see the Democratic establishment take Trump's side. He wants to see the Democratic establishment take the side of the Republicans and Trump against the anti-Zionist left. But you know it's going to happen. Why are you waiting for it to happen instead of preparing? Like, he's so arrogant. He's like, I don't need to be friends with Candace Owens. I could potentially win over Bill Maher. No, you fucking can't. You get it? You can't win over Bill Maher. You'll never win Bill Maher. You'll never win these liberal, libtard, Slava Ukraini fucking shills. You'll never win them. You need to prepare for that now. You better start being nice to Queen Candace Owens, I swear to God. Like, this arrogance is fucking suicidal. It's absolutely going to tank everything. This arrogance is going to fuck everything. 100%. You guys keep talking about the server invite link. I will fix it right now. Because I keep hearing about this fucking invite link not working, you know? So I'll just fix it. They're giving me a survey on Kick. Okay, let's edit. Okay, I fix it right now. Okay? It's fixed! I never want to hear about it again. So, it works. They're just banned. Timmy wants to be unbanned. Okay, fine. Timmy can be unbanned. If anyone can hear it, if Emilio's here, Timmy can be unbanned. But honestly, I'm going to be honest. Like, I'm not here to call you out, Timmy. Always you're getting into trouble. There's so many troublemakers in IGG who are habitual offenders constantly getting banned. I can name them. For sure, Korean Bolshevik is still banned. Probably forever, actually. Chen, there's just a consistent batch of people that keep getting dozens of different chances to not fuck up. And they keep fucking up, right? So it just needs to stop. You need to just behave and be in conformity with the cult. That's it. Everything should be in conformity with the cult. There should be no attempt to subvert or undermine the cult in any way. Ever. in any kind of way. There can be no like attempt to just like break the foundations indirectly of the cult, right? Anyway, what are we talking about? So, yes, and if you guys don't know who we are, I will tell you who we are. You may have heard about the Democratic Socialists, the rise of Mamdani, the rise of the Hasan Piker left. We are several stages ahead of that development. We are actual communists. But we also, you need to understand, I want people to understand this. If you're new, I'm going to teach you something, okay? On the left, there's, just like on the right, if you're coming from the right, you know, for example, there was Randy Fine versus Dan Bilzerian, right? On the right, there was this big conflict between anti-Zionists and neoconservatives like Ben Shapiro and so on and so on. On the left, it's the same exact thing, okay? So there's this establishment left. Typically, it's pro-Zionist. And then there's a spectrum. And the more left you go, the spectrum, the more like left-wing you go, you end up getting a hardcore left, right? That doesn't give a fuck about any liberal bullshit. A hardcore left that doesn't do any of this. They don't fixate on this culture, LGBT stuff. They don't fixate on the rainbow flags. They don't have anything to do with this stuff. And it becomes a hard left that is the revolutionary left. So Che Guevara, Fidel Castro, the Black Panther Party, you name it, right? You have to go farther left, and that's what you get to. So that's what we are, right? We are farther left than Hasan Piker. We're like several steps ahead of the mainstream. And you think, well, I associate the left with, all this cultural stuff, and I associate it with these libtards and this, this kafir nonsense. Yes, but that's the liberal left. That's like the Ben Shapiro left, right? To be analogous to the right. You go far left enough, and you find people who are very interesting. That's what we are, actually, right? You go far left enough, you find people like me, like Jackson, American Communist Party. You find people that tend to be quite religious in their conviction. We're a party of Christians, of Muslims, of you get away from this Reddit bullshit, this kafir nonsense, and you get to something, that we think has a lot of similarities or closeness to Islam, actually, especially me, right? So, we're seeing there's a big awakening happening, right? So, for example, Sneeko talks about it. There's a big awakening happening. And he can observe, and Candace can observe it, and everyone actually intelligent is observing the same thing. The right wing cannot defeat Zionism. It's absolutely incapable of defeating Zionism. The right wing is bankrupt. The right wing can secure no victories. There's nothing that can be done on the right. But on the left, there's interesting things happening, okay? On the left, you are looking at challenges to Zionism that are successful, that are gaining motion, gaining traction. That's not happening on the right. But, so that's the truth, and intelligent people can observe that and can see it. But where we fit with regard to that is that we are more ahead, we are more of a hardcore left, okay? So the traditional left is the one that you're familiar with. People who are, conventional woke people, all that kind of stuff. That's not the hardcore left. That's the liberal left, right? Right now, majority of the left is liberal, but they're moving toward the real left, right? The real left is the one that's emerging as pro-Palestine, pro-Iran, anti-war, anti-Zionist. That's what's happening. There's a hardcore left emerging. All these people, look, you go to college campuses, okay? And these same people that you would assume are obsessed with LGBT stuff and the pride parades and all that kind of whatever, censorship. But these same people are putting on the keffiyeh and they're becoming pro-Palestine and pro-Hamas. And they're becoming interested in Islam. And they're becoming like hardcore and revolutionary, right? We are like 100 steps ahead of that process. And we are like there very early, right? So let me tell you another thing. A lot of people, they don't like the left because they say, well, the left is LGBT and the right is not LGBT. But let me tell you the truth. The right wing is closeted LGBT. That's the truth. That's the truth. Am I fucking wrong? All of the right wing, Lindsey Graham was a gay pedophile. Was he not? Was he not? And then, of course, you have the Groypers. I mean, that just speaks for itself, that whole thing. And then name any other segment of the extreme right, and they're all closet LGBs. At least on the left, they're just being open about it, or they're having a dialogue and conversation with this problem or something, and it's out in the open. But the right wing, it's closeted. It's not that the one is more than the other. It's one is hidden and one is more honest, okay? The liberal left, at least. But you go to the hardcore left, you get to the point of reaching the hardcore left. The hardcore left is not promoting pride parades or anything like that. The hardcore left is revolutionary. The hardcore left is Che Guevara, Fidel Castro, Black Panther Party, Mao Zedong, KFs, what's up? Ho Chi Minh, the Palestinian resistance, the PFLP. In Lebanon, who do you think is allied, right? It's not the right wing. So there's a real hardcore left wing that has nothing to do. North Korea, DPRK. There's a real hardcore left wing that is not about any of this bullshit that you see on the liberal left, okay? And this is the truth. This is the truth. You know, some people say, well, the left are atheist and the right wing are religious. I beg to differ. The right wing, either they're lying about being religious, they're evangelicals. I'm going to name you the religious people on the right wing. The religious right, evangelical Zionists, they're a bunch of fucking sellouts, Emirati fake Muslim Emiratis, like that dumb bitch who reads off of AI on X, Rauda, the fuck is her name? That stupid Emirati bitch on X. You have this nonsense Gulf right-wing bullshit that's friends with Trump and Abraham Accords. And then you have outright pagans who worship paganism and say paganism is true Aryanism and Christianity and Islam are Jewish inventions. That's a real thing. And then you have on the right wing, you have a type of atheism that says, you know, it's just Darwinism, law of the jungle. Let's do eugenics. Let's kill children and, you know, let's genocide people cynically. And then, of course, you have the Ben Shapiro Jewish right? So what do you have on the left? You have a combination of people struggling with their religious faith. So these are atheists, but they have good intentions and they're fundamentally good and moral people. And then you have what you call, you know, the liberation theology. So the Catholics in Latin America that were fighting against U.S. imperialism, the Muslim left wing in the Middle East that's allied with Hezbollah and Hamas in Iran, people fighting for justice, people like Malcolm X, people like the Black Panthers, people like you name it. And these are really people who walk the walk when it comes to what the religion was teaching, not just talk the talk. You can't worship God and money at the same time, you know? I'm not saying the left is good people and the right is all bad people, because the same ratio of good and evil exists in every individual. There's many evil people that are on the left, 100,000%. But I'm saying in terms of principle and where we're headed as a country and what direction that we're going in, it's time to build something new. It's time to build a new coalition, a new movement, a new awakening, a new jihad against Zionism, against this rape and plunder of the nation. Who said that Islam means we have to hate America? No, Islam teaches you defend justice. The people of this nation, they're being plundered. They're being exploited. They're being oppressed. Their future's being taken away. Their children's future's being destroyed. Their minds are being warped, being corrupted. They're being poisoned. They're being intoxicated. They're being marked to be sent off to die in foreign wars that benefit no one except these bloodsuckers and exploiters. And a real Islam in America stands up for the American people because they stand up for justice. You stand up for the human beings, the people of this nation. And that's the spirit of Islam. The spirit of Islam doesn't say that Muslims are at war with America. The spirit of Islam says, in any land that you live in, regardless of where it fucking is, right? You fight for the ordinary innocent people. You fight for the innocent, the ordinary people, the common people. You fight. What is Sharia law? Sharia law is the path to water. It is the law that's supposed to protect the vulnerable. The people of this nation are being preyed upon. They're being exploited. They're being abused. They're being robbed of their future. They're being oppressed. The rise of these fucking flock cameras owned by fucking private companies. The Peter Thiel agenda to turn citizens into serfs. You know what a serf is? It means you get owned. It means you trade your citizenship for serfdom, meaning someone's going to own you. It's going to be like slavery. You're going to be tied somewhere, and some billionaire is going to decide you're going to be like cattle, what to do with you, how you're going to be classified. This is the future. They want to turn all the women of this nation into slaves, sexual slaves, through OnlyFans, through prostitution, all these other kinds of things. They take people's homes away. They take their jobs away. They take their future away. Then they come with an OnlyFans contract and say, hey, you want to pay for your college? You want to pay for your medical debt? You have to sell your body. What is this, right? So, this is how you fight Shaitan. This is how you fight Dajjal right now in 2026. You fight against this. You fight against this agenda, right? Because even though America as a government, the U.S. government is fucking evil, the Epstein regime is the enemy of all mankind, it's also the enemy of the people who live here. All the people who live here, whether they're Christians, whether they're Muslims, whether they're black, whether they're white, whether they're any other kind of color, yellow or brown, doesn't matter. It's the enemy of all the people who live on this land. So our party, the ACP, we want to unite people across all of these divisions to fight against this. And this is our goal. To create a temple of dignity, human dignity, and loyalty and collective power where there can be a community that survives this. There can be an organization that survives this. That this thing that's coming, right? Which is going to lead to civil war and all sorts of kind of fucking unrest, right? That you can think of. And, I know, for example, Sneeko, he's starting his own organization, his own party in New York. And I find it very interesting, actually. I find it interesting. And I'm looking on with, how should I say, curiosity and open-mindedness and, good feelings of goodwill, right? Because I think I think for Americans, Muslims in America, to figure out their place here and articulate that, I sympathize with it a lot, especially because it's true. Abdul al-Sayed and Mamdani and these other kind of people, they are becoming monkeys who have to dance for people because of the disadvantages that Muslims do face, honestly. Because of how much they have to make themselves be like Barney the dinosaur, because otherwise you're Osama bin Laden. But I prefer the aura of Osama bin Laden over that, actually. Not that bin Laden is good. I mean, you guys don't understand our humor here, so to be clear, that's a joke. But I would prefer to be looked at as a scary terrorist than I would prefer to be looked at as like a Zohran Mamdani who has to dance for people afraid of Islam, Because sometimes when people are afraid of Islam, they're actually afraid of themselves. And they're afraid of God, and they're afraid of justice, right? So this is the truth. And I would say that I find that interesting. You know, it should not be that if you're a Muslim in this country, you have to dance and you have to prove that you're completely harmless. I'm not fucking harmless, you know? I'm an angry person a lot of the time. And also, I don't like to smile a lot, especially for no reason. And I'm not like Abdul Al-Sayed, where I pretend that I do whitewater rafting, something that no Arab or... Okay, I know not all Muslims are Arab, but there's not a single Arab in the history of the world who's ever done whitewater rafting, ever. And when he said that he does that, he's lying for sure. Because not one Arab in all of human history has ever done that. And I know that especially not an Egyptian. There has never been an Egyptian Arab man in the history of the world who's done whitewater rafting. That is just, these are not activities that any Arab would ever partake in. But he lies and says that to appease and relate, or at least look more relatable to white people. Well, don't lie to them at least, okay? That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying don't lie to them. I cannot fathom someone who comes from this background engaging in whitewater rafting. I will die on that hill. I just can't imagine that, okay? So, in any case, but it's true that Arab and Islam is not the same thing. For sure it's not. Arab culture is not the same thing as Islam. Islamic culture should not have to be Arab culture. The Gulf countries do not have a monopoly on what Islam is. They absolutely do not. In fact, American Muslims should create their own Islamic culture. They shouldn't have to, pretend that what Saudi Arabia or the Emirates wants to export is what Islam is, the be-all, end-all. That's not true. The greatest centers of Islamic culture and learning, they were non-Arab cities, actually, like Samarkand, founded by Tamerlane the Great, who was Turkic, right? Persian cities. Even Baghdad was heavily Persianate. In any case... Islam has been across many different cultures, majority of whom were not Arab. So, and then America has its own Islamic tradition, and it starts, yes, with the Nation of Islam and Malcolm X. So, American Muslims should have the right to form their own culture, for sure. And so this new organization, I look upon it with... interest and curiosity and goodwill, because the spirit of what it's for is something I sympathize with, right? But, the truth is, I could play you the clip with Hasan Piker and Candace, by the way, because I have it right here. But, yeah, something profound is happening in this country. Some big shift, some big changes is happening. And the thing that needs to happen going forward is we need to build a giant anti-Epstein coalition. Everyone needs to tap the fuck in. I mean, imagine we build a giant coalition, an anti-Epstein coalition. ACP is tapped in. Sneeko and the Ummah Party are tapped in. Tucker Carlson taps in. Hasan Piker taps in, right? And those segments of the DSA that are realistic and sensible people. Candace finds a way to tap in, right? Everyone taps in for this popular front. Jimmy Dore, there's so many other people I didn't name. But everyone taps into this popular front, and we create a third party. Not a political party that is our ideology, but an electoral coalition third party. To start unseating both Democrats and Republicans across the nation. And the third party it means simple commitment. Zero money in politics, zero foreign warmongering, zero, we cut ties with Israel, we don't recognize Israel, complete anti-Zionism. We limit this fucking federal agency power. We limit the CIA and these intelligence agencies. We take the country back. And we don't even have to agree on the policies that we want to put forward. We just want to create the space to have the right to actually decide what policies we want without these alien interventions by these fucking the machinations of these Zionist special interests that absolutely own politics and will literally shoot and kill anybody who falls out of line with their agenda, right? So if we could create this anti-Epstein coalition, that is the way forward for the country, you know? That's how we see it. That would be the way forward. Not everyone is ready to be a communist. I understand that. We are willing to ally with anyone and everyone who fights against the regime. In whatever capacity. Of course, we mean legally, but in any capacity, right? And so people, that's why people ask, well, Candace says that the Bolsheviks killed 500 trillion people. You like Candace? And it's like, look, what? Of course I disagree with her. Of course I don't like how she's using that rhetoric, and I think it's completely wrong. But does that mean she's an enemy, that we disagree about history? What does it take for someone to be an enemy? I'll tell you what it takes for someone to be an enemy means you're a sellout. Means you're a shill. You're a sellout. It started. Now there's been a rift with Nick Fuentes, right? For others. But ours started very early on. Two things, right? Jackson and I and our movement, even before ACB started, we supported the Sahel states getting independence from France, giving the middle finger to the unipolar world order, giving the middle finger to the U.S. Epstein regime, and building up their own sovereignty. We were against the racist campaigns against Haiti. If you remember those in 2023, we were against the racist campaigns against Africans and Haitians fighting to liberate their land and acquire independence to be free from colonialism, from imperialism, and so on and so on. And immediately, him and his coalition of racists started attacking us. The Irish guy, whatever the fuck. Oh, you think black people are human beings? Yeah, we do think they're human beings, actually. No, we don't think Haitians are subhuman. No, we don't think people in Burkina Faso or Mali or something are subhuman. Yes, we think they're full human beings. And they started mocking us and attacking us relentlessly about it, right? And this was the beginning of an open conflict, so to speak. We aired out the disagreement. We moved on. Then they kept attacking us. They kept attacking us and attacking us. Then when we formed our party, they attacked us, right? So things got to a point where we started hitting them back really fucking hard, right? And needless to say, we saw these people were shills of the regime from day one. If you're claiming you're against the regime, if you're claiming you're opposed to this Zionist-occupied regime, as you would put it, then why do you support the international agenda of the regime? Why do you support its foreign policy? Oh, I side with the regime when it comes to black people. Fuck you. You're not against the regime. You're just a fucking racist, right? You know, you're just a racist. You're not against the regime. You just hate black people. Okay, hating black people doesn't mean you're against the regime. You hate the regime, it means you support every and all possible enemies against the current status quo and the current regime, right? So they started shilling and monkey dancing for the regime. And then we realized they're shills. That's at that point we realized the right wing is they're not gonna take it to the finish line. They can't. I mean, we knew that all along, but really it was proven to us that there's something fundamentally corrupt. There's something like these people are shills. There's something corrupt about them, right? And so, none of this is news to us, what's happened. You know, the rifts that have been developing Fuentes, obviously, he can't even maintain any friendship. Actually, it's so interesting. I want to show you just how weak and pathetic the right wing is. Look, one of the last coalitions.
They were just
One of the last coalitions, right? Was, and we'll cover this right here. One of the last friendships. I want to show you how defeated and pathetic and destroyed the right-wing coalition really is.
Fisherman 26 sent $20. Was that a dig at Richard Spencer? I like both you guys. They were just talking about sending you a copy of the book hoping for your input. They don't like Fishback, but they like you a lot at Alexandria.
I don't know. I saw him. I saw a little bit of a diss the other day. He said that Fishback is not the blueprint.
So now now he's fighting with Richard Spencer. Richard Spencer and his coalition of Apollons. If you don't know what they believe that they worship Apollo, the Greek pagan deity Apollo. So they reject Christianity in favor of Apollo worship. So I guess they believe in the Greek practice of going into the temple with Apollo and worshiping the statue or something. Who knows what they're doing? Something involving sodomy and pederastry. Whatever these Greek pagans were getting up to, they believe in that, right? The Richard Spencer crowd. But anyway, these people were friendly with Nick Fuentes, and it was one of the last solid coalitions on the right, Richard Spencer and Nick Fuentes, and it's destroyed. It's fucking destroyed now.
He goes, Fishback is not the blueprint.
So again, 109 friends, 109 bridges burned. And whose fault is it? You know, that's how you really have to think about it. And not that I sympathize with Richard Spencer in any kind of way. But when you're talking about 109 times that you have all your friendships get burned, whose fault is it?
Right. No, the blueprint is writing about comic books, right? No. The blueprint is not running for office, getting 10% of the vote. No, the blueprint is talking about Spider-Man. Or something.
So it's because Richard Spencer was talking about Spider-Man and analyzing Marvel movies. So this is this kind of like bitch slap fest that we see on the right? It's a completely dead, destroyed. The alt-right is dead. It's been dead for a while, I guess. But this right wing, this dissident right, it's completely dead. It's over. It's gone. So all the motion, everything interesting now is going to happen on the left. Everything of any consequence, anything interesting is going to happen on the left, for sure. What's up? Stig, what's up, bro? Oh my god. Yeah, the Fishback. Oh shit, this is really fucking bad. So Ruslan sent me some data about the Fishback campaign, and I just gotta say, guys, like the right wing is just they're not gonna make it, bro. I'm just like telling you. Let me show you some data, okay, from the Fishback campaign. Straight from the Fishback campaign, okay? So only 746 voters were under the age of 35. That's all you need to fucking know, okay? Unless I'm looking at this the wrong fucking way, how do you get a situation? Unless I'm misinterpreting how this works, is this actually the truth? How are you going to win the future and challenge the establishment if you can't get people who are young? The young people are with the left. That's just the truth. How are you gonna get... someone correct me if I'm fucking wrong. Is this actually true? Someone actually fucking correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I could be totally fucking dropping the ball here and missing it with this. Is it actually the truth? Because if you say it equals n equals 19, is that... But maybe, I don't know, is that a sample size? But then how could it be a sample size if this is... Oh my god, what the fuck? Tell me what the fuck this means. Okay, that means only 230 Groypers voted for James Fishback. What? What? What am I looking at here? Fishback got a measly 30% of the under... Yeah, this can't be right, though, can it? He won the young white vote. Yeah, it's... Yeah, why the fuck is he saying that? So, Brian Donalds got... Hold on, it's less! This can't be right! This doesn't make any sense! You're telling me that only 30% of the 746, so 230, but how does it make sense? 35 to 45 was 60,000 votes. 45 to 55 was 500,000 votes, and 55 and up was 200,000. The distribution could not be this extreme. This doesn't make, there's got to be an error. This doesn't make any fucking sense. Oh, this is one precinct. I don't even get it. How is it that under 35 there's less than 1,000 votes? You're telling me there's less than 750 votes for less than 750 people under 35 voted in this race at all? There's no, but then look at how crazy the distribution is. 500,000 people who are 45 to 55 voted? This makes no fucking sense at all. You know what? If this is true, I'm honest, like I honestly mean this. The only people in Florida who deserve to be around is Florida ACP. Everything outside of Florida ACP is reactionary. Florida ACP is the only thing that should be preserved in the state of Florida by the looks of it. Because what a completely reactionary... It's all like old creepy people that live in Florida. Is it really this skewed? Is it really this fucking skewed? What the fuck am I looking at? How can this be correct? The average adult age... No, come on. No, wait. I'm interpreting the data wrong. That's why. Wait, am I? Maybe this was just the sample size. Average adult age of precinct residents. Tell me the methodology behind this. I'm going to ask Grok because I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at. Is it actually fucking true that less than 7 people under 35 voted in this shit? Because, like, this can't be true. I gotta be getting something wrong, for sure. So I'm asking Grok to help. I just don't believe it. Yeah, Grok is doing all the research. Hold on. No, of course it's not. That can't be possible. Of course it's not true. It can't be true. I knew it couldn't be true. Grok says no. Average adult age of residents in those precincts using demographic data. So only 19 precincts. Yes, so that's what the N equals 19 meant. They were using 19 precincts as their sample size, totaling 750. Because total turnout was 1.7 million votes. Yeah, but that's not to be fair, that's not a good sample size at all. Well, how fucking many people under 35 voted, and how many of those voted Fishback? How many precincts were in total? More, much more, because if you look at it, I knew it couldn't be true. I knew it could not be true. Because yes, so some of these, for example, look at it, look back at it. This is 429 precincts. This is 1,700 precincts. You know, there's a lot of precincts, okay? 19 is not a meaningful... I don't know what the fuck kind of sample size that is. That is a ridiculous sample size. No head count. Precincts where... yeah, but that's... How could that fucking be representative? The overall electorate was extremely old. Hold on. But yeah, this is true. Ha! What? 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 Hold on. Check this out from Grok. "87% to 88%. We're over 50. 4.6%. Aged 18 to 29. 4.9, 30 to 39. Man, every old... You know, I kind of... In a video game, there should be a COVID that just wipes out everyone over 50 except people in ACP. And adjacents. But especially in Florida. Because what the fuck is going on? You're telling me people who don't know how to use email dominate everything? That's crazy. They literally own the country. It's crazy. They still use floppy disks. They don't even know. They still use... You know what I really fucking hate? Why does physical mail still exist? Think about how disgusting the country we live in is. We still use physical mail. Whose mailbox is actually... you know how much... I want to tally this up. What is, for global warming, because they talk about it so much, right? For all the paper wasted, for stupid shit that's printed, they stuff in your mailbox that means nothing. Tell me how much is being wasted. Tell me why we still have it. And you're saying don't mind mail. You are literally disgusting. Because the only way to find out, the government could literally be trying to tell you that, hey, we're going to shoot you tomorrow and drone strike your house and kill you. But you have to check your mailbox, otherwise you're never going to fucking know. And it's all because of old people who just go to the mailbox and they go, we're just doing it the old-fashioned way, because that's the right way to do it. Just because you're fucking used to something doesn't mean it's the right way to do it. Like, this is the type of civilization we're entering into, where because people are used to shit, that means they think it's the right way to do it. That's not fucking true. That's just what you're used to. That doesn't mean it's the best way to do things, because you're used to it. In order to pay your bills in the United States of America, you have to do the labor of sorting through a bunch of bullshit. This is disgusting, okay? This is a disgusting abomination. Anyway, and this is who I blame for that. Because if there was an election for should we eliminate all physical paper mail, should we eliminate all printed out everything, unless you're ordering like a magazine on purpose and you want the physical copy of a book or something. But I'm saying, like, if you want to send me a message, just email to me type of shit, right? Then the 88% of the electorate would vote, yeah, we're going to stick with mail. Fuck you. We're going to do that because I'm used to it. All these Florida, I'm literally visualizing these people. I'm going to ask Grok to do something. Grok, visualize me an over 50 Florida Republican primary voter. Do your best to imagine what they would actually look like. Do not make them look flattering. Be honest. Based on what everyone knows, what these people actually look like. Specifically males. I mean, Grok better not fuck this up because, like, I have something in my head and I want to see if the AI will match that. Okay? So, Grok is imagining, and we're going to see what we're going to be dealing with. Exactly what I thought of! I'm not even kidding! The only thing is I thought they would have a hat. Exactly what I thought of. How fucking crazy is that? This is who controls America. This is who controls the country. This is exactly what I fucking imagined. It's so crazy how I directly visualized it in my head, and then Grok made it exactly what it looks like. This is the enemy of the people. This guy and people like this control everything. Why? Why did it make him fat like I knew it would be fat? They could have made them look fit physically, but no, they have to actually show it's a fat, disgusting, lazy fucking Florida. Jesus Christ, it's like, they control the country. They don't even work. They don't even work and they control the country. Think about that. This is the Wallyization of America. You need to understand that, like Wally, you need to understand, like, this is Florida. Florida, if you think about it, this is it. It is. It's like, bro, Reddit has a monopoly on every fucking image in the world. It's crazy. This is reality for us, This is what America is gonna become. This is Florida. This is Florida and everyone in Florida playing GTA 6. Ready? This is GTA 6 player base. This is what Florida is. I'm not even, this is what Florida has become. I'm not even kidding. This is actually Florida, but this is like Laura Loomer news. This screen has Laura Loomer on it, and Sharia law is coming, type of stuff. And it's got, everything you would expect. It's got GTA 6, maybe. It's got some porn. It's got something else. It's got, Trump slop on it. Truth Social is on it. And this is Florida. This is Florida. Truth Social is here. Laura Loomer's there. And then, This is it. This is actually Florida. I'm not even fucking kidding. Florida deadass looks like this. Who can actually say that I don't know why were all these campaigns held in Florida in the first place? You know how retarded Groypers are? You know how mentally retarded they are? You know how mentally, retarded and stupid in their fucking head they are? Why would you run this campaign even in Florida? If you're smart, you would go to where there's actually angry white working class people. You would go to Kentucky. You would go to somewhere where there's actually people left out by the system who are angry, who want to change it. You would not go to the state, which is 90% fucking Wally people who are happy with their life. When 90% of people are Wally residents who are content, you would go, put it this way. Where are the places AIPAC had to spend the most money? I want you to think about this. Be smart. Kentucky. You know how much they had to spend on Massey? If you're smart and you're an anti-Zionist, you keep going to Kentucky. Keep fucking fighting the battle in Kentucky. Like, grind out everything. Like, make them spend more and more and more. Heat it up. Make it more and more intense. No, you go to Florida? Why? For what? You see? For what? That's where GTA 6 takes place. What's going to happen in Florida? Electorally, nothing. See, only the American Communist Party is going to go to Kentucky because they don't give a fuck about people in Kentucky, right? Only we will go to Kentucky. We will go to Kentucky. We will go to Flyover America because we care. Because we care about those people, actually. Because we're not the groypers who say that rednecks are subhuman and we have to look down on them because they're a bunch of trash. We don't think they're trash. We think that they're Americans who have been abandoned. And we won't abandon them, right? There's something I have to find. Why can I not have access to... the way I save posts on X is I will like them, but I can't even find that anymore. Which is so fucking stupid. Like, even I don't have access to it. I can't keep track of what I... Why not? They moved it to bookmarks. Okay. Very interesting. Oh, okay, I see. Okay. I know what I wanted to show you. Okay. Yeah, this shit was so fire. It's like, you want to know ACP's worldview? Because everyone says I'm a crazy cult leader, right? Or not everyone says it, but nonetheless, sometimes people are very skeptical of what I say, right? So just listen to this lady say it. Same thing that I say.
Fucking ship sink. Seriously. Everybody is running around asking, what do we do? What do we do? Like we're standing in front of a perfectly functional economy that just needs somebody to jiggle the fucking handle. Look around. The wealthy already hedged their bets. They bought the lifeboats. They moved the money. They positioned themselves for the wreckage before most people even realized the ship was taking on water. And the rest of us are supposed to stand here with a Home Depot bucket trying to bail out the Titanic? Fuck that. At some point, you have to recognize when you're swimming against a current that is stronger than you and stop exhausting yourself pretending sheer determination is going to reverse the fucking river. Housing cracks? Let it crack. Markets implode? Let them implode. The dollar gets kicked in the teeth? Welcome to the mouthguard portion of the program. Because if this whole grotesque economic machine is determined to throw ordinary people through the windshield, I'm done pretending I can grab the steering wheel from the back seat. I'm buckling the fuck up. I'm putting the mouthguard in. And I'm watching where the debris lands. Because here's the part people cannot emotionally accept. Sometimes survival isn't stopped.
This is what, where is he? Nikal cannot emotionally accept, right?
Emotionally accept. Sometimes survival isn't stopping the collapse. Sometimes survival is understanding that you cannot personally prevent it, refusing to destroy yourself trying, and positioning yourself intelligently for whatever exists afterward.
Positioning yourself intelligently for what comes after. That's ACP. That's what we believe in.
That doesn't mean celebrating people losing their homes. It doesn't mean rooting for suffering. It means recognizing...
It already happened. You can't stop it from happening. It's already happened. There's a time lag that's experiential, but it's happened. Trust me. So if we can pray to God and hope, we can have time to adapt. That's what we have to be about. Adaptation.
Recognizing that if the people with the most money, information, access, and power have already positioned themselves to survive the downside, maybe ordinary people should stop being shamed into pretending everything is fine while desperately trying to preserve a system that clearly isn't preserving them. I'm not interested in being the last idiot on deck.
Can we prepare for what comes after? That's the goal. Acknowledge it's unstoppable. You can't stop it.
Rearranging furniture while the billionaires wave from their fucking yachts. Let the ship sink. I'll conserve my energy. Protect what I can. Watch carefully. And when the dust settles, I'm going to be standing there with my sleeves rolled up, ready to move through the ashes while everybody who spent the collapse screaming, "This can't be happening," is still trying to emotionally process the fact that it already fucking did. You can spend the free fall arguing with gravity. Or you can put your mouth guard in, brace for impact, and make damn sure you're ready when your feet touch the ground. I know which one I'm doing. Let it fall. I'll meet you in the ashes.
I know it was made by AI, but it's so true. It doesn't mean it's wrong. Okay? And I've been saying it for a long time, and it's gone viral. And I know it was made by AI, and it's also true, though. And I've been saying it for a long time. Should I even cover this other thing I wanted to show you? There's some woman who got sentenced for killing 3 babies. And then there was a protest of women in a sea of pink protesting that she should be freed or something. And then I don't even know if I want to show it to you, but I just have to think like, what the fuck is that? That's so demonic. That's so demonic and satanic. What the fuck is that? I don't know. There's some type of fringe faction of feminism that is just so wrong. It's so like hatred of babies. I don't know what that fucking is, but it's fucking terrible. Right? What the fuck is that? It's so demonic. It's like satanic. You know, because Logo was talking about, some uncomfortable conversations Logo was initiating. He was talking about how during the matriarchal paradise where there was fertility goddess worship, human child sacrifice was routine and regular, which is actually true. It's actually true. Like, it actually was a thing. And this was only abolished thanks to the rise of patriarchy, supposedly. Don't shoot the messenger. That's what the history seems to suggest. And I'm like, is this really some demonic shit to go back to some like satanic pagan past or something? I don't fucking know. But it is very disturbing to me, you know? Look, everyone can make choices, and why is it so controversial now to say that if you kill 3 babies, you should lose your life? You know, like, why is it crazy to say now? I don't know. The whole world is going upside down. And I'm not I'm not one of these anti-feminist types, but it's just, that's so extreme. It's so crazy. I saw one ACP guy say it's sad to tell Chinese people that communists in the West are furries. Yeah. Really, buddy? There's no furries in China? You got it all. You got it all. You got the anime profile picture. You got Everything lines up, and what the fuck am I looking at? What am I looking at anymore? I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't even know the type of shit on... The shit people get away with saying on Reddit because of censorship is intriguing. Everyone talks about information silos, or what do they call it? Echo chambers. But there's no bigger echo chamber in the world than Reddit. I'm just going to be honest. Like, if Reddit... Okay, let me imagine a version of Reddit where all censorship, besides anything illegal, was lifted anywhere on any subreddit. Imagine what that would look like. Imagine what that would look like. Imagine what that would look like. It would be quite crazy. It would be quite crazy, right? So it would be fascinating. Apparently, everyone on the discourse is talking about it. So I just saw it from Orvo. What the fuck is this? What? This is... I'm not going to show this. This is a woman, like, torturing her infant for feminism?
Don't make no sense.
She's, like, laughing, throwing water on her baby to... It's disturbing as fuck. I mean, I'm not even gonna show it. Yeah, something is, like, up with that. I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's a psyop. This is some kind of psyop or some shit to create a new, you know, man versus woman conflict. Maybe, I don't know. But what the fuck is this? I mean, this is what Orvo was talking about, basically. Let me, So, Orvo, this was on my timeline. Woman line up to wave Lindsay Clancy arriving at court. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? Okay, so I'm in genuine good faith. Like, what? Am I missing a context? What the fuck is this? Is there something I'm missing? What is going on? I cannot imagine why they are cheering for someone who killed 3 babies. It's not like, okay, it's like, was it just someone who did an illegal abortion? No, they were babies who were out of the... They were born and separated, and they were killed. Has to do with women treatment in the penal system. Really? Why are you cheering for someone who killed 3 babies, though? You can protest. Okay, why are they protesting? Okay, protest outside the prison house and say, give women more human rights. But why are they doing this like she's a celebrity, bro? I know you're not defending it, but in good faith, could anyone explain what the fuck this is? That due to postpartum depression, she should not be accountable. But what, you know, what is this? How did this become a movement? How do, like, so many people become passionately in unison agreeing to this? It's so disturbing to think about. Okay, imagine a mentally ill person. What are we talking about? 3 babies! What are we talking? I mean, what? Is it just not a big deal, or... where are we in the world anymore? If you take a gun, okay, imagine some guy was crazy. He takes a gun and shoots 3 grown women. Are we clapping for that guy because he has mental health issues? Why is being grown up worse of a crime? Why is it worse to kill a grown up than it is to kill a baby now? That's what I don't fucking understand. I'm not talking about abortion. I'm talking about a born infant child who has been born. Why is it okay to kill babies? It's like a comic book, honestly, like a cartoon that I'm even saying this. It's like, what is this cartoon I'm living in that this is reality? I don't even know what the fuck this is. Is this dark woke? Genuinely, is this dark woke now? Is this what it is? Why are they cheering for someone who killed 3 babies? I don't get it. I'm trying to understand it. I'm trying not to demonize and dehumanize people, but like, I'm looking for community notes. I'm looking at the replies. She knew she was losing her mind and desperately asked for help from the hospital and mental health care services. She tried to get herself committed but got rejected because she was on too many meds. I agree that's wrong. That's for sure wrong. And for sure, you know, for sure, I mean, of course, that's indefensible. But at the same time, I want to run a hypothetical. Let's say there was a man who had the same problem trying to get medical care or something for his mental issues, and he went and shot 3 grandmas. Would anyone defend him at all? It's like, on the one hand, look, I'm going to tell you what my theory of justice is. My theory of justice is she should be executed, but all of the heads of the pharmaceutical and healthcare industry should also be executed alongside her. Meaning there needs to be justice for the fact that people who need help are being denied this help. But simultaneously, when you cross the line and you start killing innocent babies, it doesn't matter if it's you, whether it's because you're crazy or something else. Justice is justice. That's my opinion, you know? Like, you kill babies, you kill anyone innocently who... Jennifer, it's stupid? Come on. Like, I'm willing to hear you out on this, but come on. Like, how can we... She claims she doesn't even remember doing it. Okay, look, if it was genuinely a psychotic episode, where there was disassociation and it was like that, then okay, then I wouldn't say execution. Okay, I would. We need to evaluate. They need to examine. They need to examine whether it was psychosis or not. They need to examine it for sure. That our justice system kind of already does that. If you think about it, you know, there's premeditation, there's a crime of passion where you just got really upset and angry. Then if there's a genuine case of psychosis where you're not even in control of your actions anymore, I mean, let them examine it. I'm not going to claim to be an expert in that. You guys saying you don't believe her, how do we fucking know though, right? But how do we fucking know? We don't know. How would we know? She was ruled mentally fit. I don't fucking know, man. This is all I'm going to say. I'm not going to claim a verdict, but I will say this. There is no circumstances. There's no circumstance in which she should be cheered for and treated as a hero, regardless. Even in the most far out interpretation where you say she was not at all guilty because of her own choices, still at least see it as a tragedy and don't clap for her and cheer for her. That's all I'll fucking say, right? I'll say, you know, justice means, okay, but why cheer for her like she's a celebrity? It was a horrific thing. Horrific thing that happened. Psych meds. Look, someone needs to be executed for the death of those 3 babies. And if it's not her, it needs to be the people who prescribed her 13... The pharmaceutical industry executives, the people who create these psycho drugs that destroy people's minds. Someone needs to be executed, okay? Death penalty for that woman. I mean, guys, the thing, listen, I don't fucking know. I don't know. All right. I don't know what psychosis actually entails. Imagine, but think about it. Let me give you a hypothetical. What if somebody puts you on DMT or some crazy fucked up drug where you literally are like hallucinating and shit, right? And then you pick up a hairbrush and you're like, I'm going to brush my hair. But instead it's a shotgun and behind you is like a grandma and you shoot her and she blows up. And you like, then the drug wears off and you look at the shotgun. You're like, oh my God, it's not a brush. How do we know how these things work? You think I understand these things? I don't. Who knows? I'm just trying to fucking run a hypothetical to say, you know, but there's no circumstance where it can be defended that she's cheered on. There's no circumstance that she should be cheered for. You know? That's all I'll fucking say. You can't say post. I don't. Candace had a good take. She's pretty much screwed over by the system. It's tragedy. She's not a hero, and will be on suicide watch for the rest of her life. She did the crime. She got to do the time. I have another crazy take, which is I don't believe in prison sentences for more than 5 years. I believe anything more than 5 years has to be execution. Or if you believe someone can be rehabilitated because of their mental condition, then you can try that. But if someone cannot be safe for society at all, their right to life has been forfeit. I don't care what the reason is. Isn't that fucking crazy that I say that? No, but that's the truth. It's what I think. If there's no condition or circumstance where you are unsafe to be around for society, you do not deserve to live. Or you do not deserve the right to freely frolic among the rest of us, meaning you can be deported to the ocean and swim somewhere you want. But in any case, I don't believe you have the unconditional right to live if you are genuinely unsafe for the rest of society. And there's no way you can be reformed at all. We should be bringing back asylums. Okay, but then let's say, okay, we're communists, are we not? We're socialists. Let me ask you the question. Tell me, who should be the staff? You going to staff the asylum? We're going to be living in a socialist planned economy. So I'm going to assign you to be the staff for the asylum. And every day from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., you're going to clock in and you're going to be dealing with these people going, think about it. You're basically forcing people. Someone has to do the labor, right? So who's going to fucking do it? How do we organize that? Genuinely, how do we do that? No, tell me. Should some people just be condemned to misery for the rest of their life? I just think it's unfair. If we can get robots to do it, that would be the best, you know? It should be high paying enough that people are willing to do it. 9 to 5 every day, you go in and you deal with that. Fuck no, man. I mean, you couldn't pay me $1 billion a day to have half of my day be spent doing that. I'm not kidding. You cannot pay me $1 billion a day to have half of my day be spent doing that shit. And I'm just being honest about this because 95% of people agree with me. You know, 95% of people agree with me. For those who could do this for the rest of their life because they're such good people, God bless those people. I'm not even kidding. Like, God bless those people. Genuinely good people. I could not do it. I'm not as much of a good person. I don't have the empathy in me to do that for the rest of my life. For those that can, God bless them. I'm not even kidding. If that gives you fulfillment and happiness, you're genuinely an angel. I'm not even kidding. I'm just being very blunt about this, you know? We do bourgeois psychopaths doing the guarding? No, we don't. That's really a bad idea. That's the number one thing, guys, that I detest and hate the most, guess what it is? One of the things I hate and I detest, torture. Usury is a form of torture. I hate torture. I believe in decisive outcomes. If someone is so terrible and evil, let them be exiled from the world through death. If someone is so terrible, then there needs to be a decisive confrontation that leads to an outcome. Decisive outcome. If someone is evil and you truly believe they're evil, okay, then the evil should be disposed of. But there is never an excuse to torture people. There's never an excuse to say, I'm going to spend, this person will be tortured from now till the rest of their life. I'm going to keep them alive, but I'm going to continuously, I'm going to keep them alive, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to continuously, chip away at them and just make them miserable and suffer. I'm so against misery and suffering. That's the truth. I'm against misery. I believe that the living should have a path to happiness. Live by my maxim. I genuinely believe this. The living should always have a path to happiness. If you're going to keep someone alive, at least give them the opportunity to live a fulfilling human life. Maybe it will take them 5 years of labor to do that, but if there is no way to do that for them, death penalty. Right? So you're talking about Epsteinites. Let's take Epsteinites. The truth is, Epsteinites, legally, we should have a system that gives them the Cheka treatment. Straight up, the Cheka. You know what the Cheka did, right? One in the back of the neck right here. Just bam, you're gone. And that's it. You think I want to torture them? Fuck, I'm not a sick fuck like they are. Get them out of our existence. Annihilate them from reality. These people on Epstein Island. What about mentally retarded people that sometimes are harmful to society? That's a good question. I will say, okay, we do need to take care of them, and it would be wrong to, it obviously would be fucking crazy to execute them. Someone would basically say, okay, no, that would be wrong, because at the end of the day, they are disabled. What you're talking about is an inborn disability, right? But I think there needs to be screening for those kinds of things, first of all. And I believe that 100%. I believe there needs to be screening. There needs to be screening with medical technology. I strongly believe in that. But I think that the economics of care are very complex subject. I don't even have full solutions. I would say that there needs to be institutes that are dedicated to watching over those kind of people and caring for them. But it also needs to be in a way that's fair to the caretakers, and it's not condemning caretakers to a life of eternal misery. That's really what I would say. I would say screening for disabilities that are preventable through medical technology, which, if unchecked, would lead to a life of just hardship for everyone, I don't mean to put it in such ways, but, some people love working with, they're angels. God bless them. You know what I think? Whose paradigm I liked a lot was Evald Ilyenkov. So, admittedly, he was working with blind children, right? But he abandoned these disgusting modern institutional practices, and he started being genuinely dialectical in his interaction with blind children in terms of teaching them language and communication. And actually, he was successful. He was very successful. And I think there's a way to draw out the real humanity from anyone, regardless of their disability. So even if someone is, has Down syndrome or something like that, or I'm not aware of the full spectrum of mental disabilities that are inborn, right? That you're born with. But I think that one of the reasons they're so painful and difficult is we do not properly understand them enough, and there's the paradigm of developing and guiding these people. I think we have it the wrong way, and it leads to misery and misfortune for everyone, right? So I believe with the power of dialectics, we can find ways to make everyone happy. People born psychopaths, I don't believe in that. I believe in free will. I don't believe in that. There are genuine disabilities people are born with that are clearly inborn disabilities, but I don't believe in I'm going to tell you something. You know what? I'm going to just share with you a radical thing. I think that I don't believe that 95% of people they call autistic, it's not inborn. It's something developmental for sure. I believe it's a developmental issue. I don't believe it's I don't believe sociopathy is real. I think that's a made up thing. I think psychiatry is completely fake. I think free will is real, and I think there are developmental dysfunctions. I believe in developmental dysfunctions. I do not believe someone is born Jeffrey Dahmer. Don't believe that. I've never believed that. I think that's a retarded worldview, actually. Psychiatry is really the problem, when you think about it. Psychiatry is the problem. I'm not an environmental determinist either. I believe in free will. I think people are ultimately responsible for who they are. But what I think about how do you prevent Jeffrey Dahmers? It's like maybe you can't, but what you can create is a moral greatness that is able to inspire people to detect Jeffrey Dahmers. Meaning, a society needs to be more sensitive to detecting people who choose to go down the path of evil. And that's our problem. Do I think evil can be eradicated fully? No. But I think we can get better at spotting it. And the only way we get better at spotting it is when we cultivate virtue on a higher degree than we have now. Is ADHD real? I don't even know what the fuck that means, man. Like, what the fuck is that? I have ADHD. I have OCD. I have PCD. I have CCD. I have CD. I have DVD. I have Blu-ray. I have this. I have that. Fuck are you talking about? 99% of this stuff, I don't believe in any of it. I'm just going to tell you the truth, all right? Hard to pay attention, sit still, and control actions. Yeah, I don't believe that's like this psychiatric paradigm. Yeah, you have this now. It's this thing. You show me where. It's patterns of behavior. It's like they make it seem like it's like a pineal gland that develops in your fucking spine, and it's just like, no, it's a something for sure. Anything can be changed, for sure, with meditation. Forced at gunpoint sometimes, right? You know who my favorite psychologist in the world was? And he was so correct about this. I mean, this was the greatest psychoanalyst in the world. Like, he was so correct on how he moved. Jacques Lacan. His psychoanalytic sessions were 10 minutes max each. I'm not even kidding. 10 minutes each. And that was, I think he started shorting it to 5 minutes. People would come see him they would pay him for the session. And then after 5 minutes, he'll tell them to fuck off and go home. Such a genius thing. I believe in that so much. If I allow someone to sit on the couch and talk to me for 3 hours, what a waste of time that is. You get 10 minutes. 10 minutes on the clock. Okay, 10 minutes, go home and see you next week. That's literally how it's got to be. Sometimes people come to me for advice, and I give them one sentence, and they go, you be grateful for the sentence I gave you. There's so much wisdom in it. So much wisdom in this sentence I give to you, and they don't. I gave you something you can think on, and you can focus on it and think about it for a long time. No, you got to be my friend, shut up. I tell you something, and you should, people need to start treating my words like gold. So valuable. Right? Like that sentence I just told you is worth 25 subs. Bare minimum 25 subs. What I just told you right now. That everything is short and sweet. In this life, everything that matters is short and sweet when it comes to communication. When it comes to communication, it's always short and sweet, okay? And when someone is sitting and they talk to you about their problems for 5 hours, at a certain point, they're abusing you. When someone takes 3 hours to talk to you about their problems, they're abusing you. What can I tell you after 3 hours? Past the 5-minute mark, you need to talk to yourself, not me. Right? It's been years I haven't given a lecture about Lacan. You know what's interesting about Lacan is he rediscovered Islam without knowing it. He proved Islam is correct. I'm not even kidding. He proves Islam is correct without knowing it. You know? Anyway, all this was started because of this because of that crazy story, that horrific story about the postpartum thing. Probably a psyop. I think it could be a psyop, actually, you know? I think it could be. Oh, hold on. You believe in Soviet psychiatry. Me too. I believe in locking up everyone who disagrees with us. It's like dead ass the way to go. Just calling him crazy. Just call him crazy. It's so true. That was the Brezhnev asylums were onto some crazy shit. You guys you're not ready for that. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even joking about this. Like, Brezhnev asylums, no, I'm not even kidding. Brezhnev asylums were not about people who disagreed with socialism. They were for crazy people under socialism who could not handle Marxism, Leninism, and were going crazy over it. Like they didn't understand it, and it was leading them in these crazy directions. Like straight up, it's good. Desociopathizing. Okay, this thing about, you want to know the most stupid shit that's going on the internet? For example, on Facebook or elsewhere, it's like they create a scapegoat group, and they're like 10 signs of a narcissist. And then like some lady is like, oh my God, my ex was just like this. 10 signs of a narcissist, 10 signs of a sociopath. Could a narcissistic sociopath be among you? We need to do something about these narcissistic sociopaths among us. Like, how is that different from the reptilian shapeshifter shit? It's the same thing. It's the same retarded cope of you realizing that there are indeed morally bad people among us, and you're like creating a different species out of them. No, the problem is our morality collectively. I will die on this hill, the same ratio of good and evil exists in every single human being. The only thing that matters is how we respond to it. Because they create evil people as a separate species, right? And that's the fucking problem. They create evil people and turn them into a separate species, which is so wrong, so misguided and fundamentally wrong, you know? They're coming soon. Don't wait for me. Reptilian theories are correct. The bourgeoisie is not human. Okay, we're kind of cooking. Guys, I love the alien content sometimes. Oh my God, there's this one documentary. I kind of want to watch it with you guys because it's so fucking good. Dead ass, this was the best fucking thing I've ever seen. I'm not even trolling you. It's like this. I have to tell you, it contained a lot of factual information. And like it was so good. Such good content. And I got into this rabbit hole from fucking ironically, it was Jason Reza Giorgiani who's retarded. But this is correct. Wasn't this guy before an infrared guy? What the fuck happened to this guy, Serve? For all their arrogance, Twitter, ACP, and infrared do not understand Marxist theory. Okay. Wacky theories and theoretical absurdities. Okay. This guy definitely dresses up as a LARPer for sure. This is a real ML who doesn't... yeah, all these memes are just like so offensive to my super serious sensibilities because I wear a Mao costume and I'm super serious. I dress exactly how Lenin did 100 years ago. Vague positions and vibes that constantly try to rationalize with Marxist terminology. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Debate Rev. They have to critically engage with Marx. Yeah. Saying this about me or Carlos is hilarious, by the way. What positions are there to critique? I constantly argue with Volk and Morlock about basic Marxism. Like how Marx rejects natural rights, which got disputed by Morlock. HP cadres are fundamentally wrong and ignorant about Marx. Infrared relies too much on hype and memes instead of the earlier actual philosophical work. Yeah, I'm creating a very serious movement around actual philosophical work. Because I'm a serious person. It's me and my 5 friends. We're the ones who truly interpret the text in the right way. We don't use memes. We just like interpret it in the correct way. And the way we can prove it's correct is the fact that only the 5 of us understand it. And everyone else is like just completely, stupid and unserious. Goyification, nothing produced. Every ACB cadre needs to be a Renaissance man. Needs to write scientific essays on Marxism. Platonist communist, Kantian Leninist soldier in the jihad of reason. Serve, can you understand how, because of how vague your critique is, like, how could it not apply to you? Platonist communist. Okay, Platonism, in principle, Platonism is opposed to Marxism. There is a fundamental rift. Now, I have myself talked about how Plato is important conceptually, right? How Plato is kind of onto something, if you will, but there's something fundamentally about Plato that is the beginning of idealism. And that you cannot just have a materialist Plato. You have to break out of Plato, right? How? But that's my speculative idea. At face value, Plato's an idealist, okay? How can you be a Platonist communist from a Marxist perspective? At face value, you can't be. Why? Because Hegel, in the dispute between Plato and Aristotle, which side does Hegel take, if you know anything about philosophy? Hegel takes Aristotle's side. Structurally, he does, okay? Hegel belongs, if you have to categorize him between the two, in the Aristotelian position. I wouldn't reduce him to that at all, but seriously. Then we have Kantian Leninism, okay? But Kantianism was associated with Bernstein and social democracy. Lenin literally went on a jihad against neo-Kantianism. There is no one more anti-Kantian than Lenin, actually. So much so that Ayn Rand considered Kant literally Satan, the same thing as Satan, right? Because Ayn Rand was taught imperial criticism and the basics of Lenin's philosophy at the university in Petrograd, or Leningrad at the time, and she imported that framework into her own philosophy and also imported the crypto-Hegelian anti-Kantianism that was latent throughout that, which she got from Lenin, right? How can we speak of a Kantian Leninism? It means nothing, okay? You yourself, and if you want to argue with me about this, by all means argue with me about it, but you yourself have crossed the gap from serious cookie-cutter Marxism into very speculative territory just by carving out the position that's in your fucking Twitter bio, right? So do not pretend that you're some standard orthodox Marxist and we're the wacky, crazy ones. You're equally wacky and crazy. You just don't want to debate your position with other wacky, crazy people. You just want to pretend you're the sane one. No, you're not. It's complete fucking nonsense. Okay. And I don't know what's going on with this nonsense, you know? I'm so sick of this metaphysical nonsense, okay? Anyway, I want to show you this documentary, which is so fucking good. Can I tell you something? Like, let me tell you something. Jason Reza Giorgiani's retarded, but he recommended this documentary, which, if you discount the UFO shit, is full of gas. It's
Could
so
have been the result
fucking
of
good.
really
It's so good, I need to bookmark my timestamp because I didn't even finish it. I'm at 1:04:06. Okay. I'm going to show you this documentary, and it's so well made. It's so good. Forget the UFO shit. Like, that's not even the important part. This is the documentary, the secret company that's hiding UFOs from the world. It's so good. It's so good. Like, it's full of half-truths and shit, but when it does tell the truth, it's so fucking crazy, the information in this.
the real masters of the UFO topic do not reside in the government. Instead, this issue is held by an illegal internationalist regime and global cabal that mixes corporate, military, political, intelligence, and criminal interests, and that has seized the UFO issue and made it the source of their wealth and power. That's what former State Department and counterproliferation analyst Matthew Brown revealed when he came out last year.
This doesn't ultimately reside in the government anymore. This is held in an illegal internationalist regime that have come together, and they have made it the source of their wealth and power.
The whole world is waiting on the government that they will finally reverse their policy of secrecy on the UFO issue. But what if it's not ultimately
Forget the
in their
UFO
hands?
thing.
Machines to the world with very little fanfare. The novel's actually pretty good, coming from Swiss bank accounts at the end of World. The idea of the book is that the real enemy isn't just an individual government or a particular aerospace company, as culpable as those entities are, but rather an obscure, supranational private entity who controls those other elements. For 10 years, researchers have been trying to identify...
Bro, he goes into such detail about who is behind the Nazis, and it's like, yeah, you can double check it, and he's right. Like, that's this documentary's so good at drawing these connections between the Anglo-American elite and Nazism, and the crazy details about how after World War II, the Nazi elite literally fled. They smuggled all the gold and wealth through Swiss banking companies, and they were evacuated with the foreknowledge of the OSS. It's so crazy. Fuck.
Maynard's real...
Just ignore the retarded UFO part and other half-truths in this. Focus on the part about what happened leading up to World War II and after in this documentary. It's like, wow.
World counterparts. So how do you go about finding such a thing? Well, luckily for us, DeLong left serious hints inside of the novel. In Secret Machines, Maynard is described as having been founded in the late 40s. The initial funding is also suspicious, coming from Swiss bank accounts at the end of World War II, implying some kind of Nazi lineage. The company is co-run by Western elite that basically funded Project any government
military
investment. Maynard's wait the long dismal outstream story. I'm going to start wrong. War was over. They'd failed in their push eastward at Stalin leadership knew the war.
Check this out. This part.
By August 1944, the Nazi leadership knew the war was over. They'd failed in their push eastward at Stalingrad, and in the west, the Allies had successfully breached Normandy and were pushing aggressively. Italy had fallen to the south. Romania had defected, and to add insult to injury, even some Germans were now turning against Hitler, culminating in a failed assassination attempt in July of 1944. Things were dire, and they had been for at least a year. According to traditional history, all that was left was for the Soviets and the United States to squeeze the Nazis from both sides until they finally met in Berlin. End of war, end of story. But that's not the real story. The truth is that while the German state surrendered, the Nazis didn't. On August 10th, 1944, a critical...
This is fucking real. This is actually real. Like, listen to this part because it's real.
Top secret meeting was held in the Maison Rouge Hotel in Strasbourg. The meeting was organized by Martin Bormann, Hitler's personal secretary and one of the most powerful men in Germany. In attendance were the leading industrialists and business leaders of the German state, men connected to armaments, heavy industry, aircraft production, chemicals, engineering, finance, and scientific research. These men weren't just industrialists.
No, guys, don't mystify it. With all this stuff about aliens and shit, ignore that. He doesn't even say that. Right now, he's telling the truth, okay?
They were the people who owned the Nazi war.
This was the bourgeoisie. Like, think about it in a Marxist way. You don't even need to talk about secret societies. Stop being fucking schizophrenic. Think about it, it's just the bourgeoisie, all right?
Machine. The meeting room was swept with microphones and transmitters. Nearby suites were cleaned, and the floors above and below the meeting room were
This is actually real. It's not speculation. This happened.
guarded to prevent anyone from listening in. When the meeting started, the message was blunt. The battle was lost, but the war didn't have to be. The titans of industry were told to prepare for a long-term COVID campaign after defeat. Assets were to be hidden through foreign front companies. Shell companies were to be set up. Swiss bank accounts leveraged. Holding companies established. Money laundered. And critical technology relocated for continued development. The Nazi war machine, they were told, was going underground. Dr. Bose of the Armaments Ministry later reported back to Martin Bormann that the industrialists had accepted his plan.
Bro, this actually happened. The Maison Rouge hotel meeting actually is real. Fucking look it up. It the SS and all the elites in Germany, all the industrialists, all the bankers, all the people in power, they actually had this fucking meeting which said the war is lost, but we can actually survive this and plan in the long term. Think about it. And then you think about the rise of the Hitler shit on X and stuff. Who's behind that? I don't fucking know.
This legendary moment in history has come to be known as the Maison Rouge meeting, and it's one of the most important moments in the history of the 20th century. In the 80s, researcher Paul Manning would find the original minutes of the meeting in files from the US Treasury Department. Those minutes relate exactly what had been said. From now on, the government in Berlin will allocate large sums to industrialists so that each can establish a secure post-war foundation in foreign countries. Existing financial reserves in foreign countries must be placed at the disposal of the party in order that a strong German empire can be created after defeat. It is almost immediately required, he continued, that the large factories in Germany establish small technical offices or research bureaus which will be absolutely independent and have no connection with the factory. These bureaus will receive plans and drawings of new weapons, as well as documents which they will need to continue their research. I know that what is being described here sounds kind of fanciful. The Allies were pressing from the west, the Soviets were coming from the east, Britain was now bombing over northern Germany, and Nazi Germany had also been walled off economically. Enemy trading laws made business with Allied banks and industry illegal, and the US had even launched Operation Safe Haven, specifically designed to counteract this kind of activity. The idea was to track...
Okay, I want you all to listen. This is one of the craziest bombshells in the entire documentary. As a matter of fact, drop 5 subs to show... I'm just kidding. Just kidding. You just say ones in the chat to show that you fucking paying attention, okay? Because you guys are like being dead silent and shit, and I need your full fucking attention because this is fucking crazy. Okay, so if you have ADHD, I'm going to tell you what's going on. The US started something called Project Safe Haven, okay? And the OSS to prevent Nazi capital flight from leaving Germany and preparing to continue the war by other means, right? But listen to this.
Specifically designed to counteract this kind of activity. The idea was to track down and intercept Nazi assets that were being smuggled elsewhere. The Allies were finally about to kill the beast, and they were doing everything.
There we go, Neek. What's up, bro, with the 5? There we go. Oh my god, you guys actually did it. That's crazy. Merengue, what's up, bro? Appreciate you. Thank you.
To ensure that it couldn't grow another head. And if you think about it, of course they were. The world had suffered enough. World War II.
So we're told that the Allies, the Americans and the British, genuinely wanted to stop Nazism and stop Nazi Germany. But what actually happened? Watch this.
Cost the lives of approximately 17 million men, women, and children, and had the cost of somewhere in the region of $9 trillion in today's money. And none of this includes the human and economic cost that had preceded it in World War I and the Great Depression. For 30 years, the world had been in turmoil. And now, finally, in 1945, there was a chance to finish the suffering. And that's why what happened next was so mind-blowing. Despite the bombing, despite the pressing from the east and the west, despite the physical and economic blockades, the Nazis successfully performed a colossal escape. In July 1945, the Senate Committee on the Elimination of German Resources for War would hold an urgent meeting.
Look this up, because if you think he's making this shit up, look this up.
To discuss something utterly astonishing.
I will not defend his alien shit, the UFO stuff, or I don't even think he says aliens. The UFO stuff, I'm not going to defend it. But I can tell you, I double-checked all of this. He's telling the truth about this.
A declassified report from the meeting tells a terrifying story. It says Germany had hidden resources to finance a new war.
Okay, I want you to... we need to draw the connections. Isn't Germany rearming right now to fight Russia in 10 years? Isn't that actually happening right now? Who's behind that? Who's organizing that? Like, think about how crazy what's going on is.
How could this have happened? The report explicitly calls out the meetings held in Strasbourg in August 1944 as being pivotal in launching a mass evacuation.
And the Maison Rouge meeting.
Most significantly, the report stated they have already conceived vicious plans for a third attempt at world conquest. This report was shared just 2 months after the official German surrender, and in a secret committee, it had been discovered that the enemy had escaped and was successfully preparing for another world conquest. I wonder if you're asking, how serious could this really be? How serious could this escape plan be? How big could it be? How threatening could it really be? It's one thing for a few industrialists to make an escape, but how big an impact could they really have? Well, the report tells us. Approximately 750 German subsidiaries and affiliates in European neutrals and in Turkey and Argentina had been set up.
You guys know what subsidiaries are? They're fucking... When you're a company, you make a subsidiary and that becomes you, okay? That's what... This is crazy. Now the wealth was diversified.
This included 58 in Portugal, 112 in Spain, 233 in Sweden, 214 in Switzerland, 35 in Turkey, and 98 in Argentina. And importantly, these were just the preliminary figures that had been gathered whilst the investigation was still in progress. The scale of what had happened by 1945, in July 1945, was already mind-blowing, but it is just a fraction of the story. By now, it's well known that at the end of the war, somewhere between 30 to 90,000 Nazis would successfully escape to South America, where they wouldn't face justice for their war crimes. Over 50 U-boats, the Nazis' infamous German submarines, would remain unaccounted for, and billions...
I'm so glad we're not on Twitch, because if this was Twitch, I'd get banned because he showed a swastika.
...of dollars and gold would never be found. In fact,
I'm not even kidding. They had that policy. Like, even if it, whatever the context is, you're banned.
the volumes of gold that went missing are astronomical. Newly declassified documents reveal that the Reichsbank used the Bank of International Settlements to transfer 500 tons of gold to Brazil.
The Bank of International Settlements oversaw the transfer of this much gold to Brazil in 1945. Now, people, when they say the Nazis were fighting against the bankers or something, you need to understand the facts. This is real.
Brazil in 1945. That's $70 billion in today's money. Hundreds more tons were sent to other countries, and other billions went missing. Suffice to say that the attempts of Operation Safe Haven failed dramatically. So dramatically that it's frankly suspicious. This kind of escape simply could not have happened without some very powerful figures sponsoring it. And it turns out that behind our official history of World War II, there's a hidden story. In school, we're taught a rather black and white story about how the Allies were at war with the Axis powers. But the truth is that there was a hidden third actor throughout the war. This hidden group existed in Nazi Germany in the same way that it existed in the United Kingdom and in America. They advised Roosevelt in the same way that they whispered in Churchill's ear and counseled Hitler and Himmler. Churchill would even call them the Grand Cabal. Others have described them as a hidden fraternity, and even a supranational brotherhood. This shadowy group played both sides of the war, and despite the grand theatrics of Roosevelt and the hallowed call of Churchill, both sides were being played by a force so powerful that it hung over their heads like a spectre. In the story of how the 20th century went wildly wrong, the founding of the Bank of International Settlements will be held up as a terrible moment. Ostensibly, it had been created to deal with the sensitive issues of German reparations after World War I. The idea was to create a transnational institution which did not belong to any nation, so that the sensitive issue wouldn't have to be dealt with by any individual country. But its true purpose, it would turn out, was not to help settle the complexities of the brutal war that had just passed, but instead to ensure that the world's financial titans could act with total impunity in the next one. From day one, the Bank of International Settlements was devoid of any government oversight. It was effectively a transnational...
Can you fucking believe that? This bank had no regulations, no government, anything, nothing. It was just purely like the bankers. That's it. Doing whatever the fuck they wanted.
Financial network with a black box at the center that no one was allowed to peer into. It was set up in Switzerland. It operated under a treaty-based international status, had immunity from Swiss law enforcement, and had statutes that could override ordinary Swiss law. Most importantly, as researcher Adam Labor writes, the Bank of International Settlements, according to the bank's charter and with the agreement of the respective governments, was immune from seizure, closure, or censure, even if its owners were at war. What a
Can you fucking believe that?
curious thing to include in such a bank's charter. And as we're going to see,
A bank that says even if there's a war, we're immune. What the fuck? This is real.
wasn't accidental. This was definitely intentional. The Bank of International Settlements is going to play a pretty central role in what we're about to discuss, but it isn't the only character. In fact, there are so many characters, it's going to feel slightly overwhelming. I'm about to reel off so many names, so many organizations, and so many connections that you may find yourself struggling to keep up with it, but I want to reassure you, that's okay. You don't have to remember every name. You don't have to remember every connection or every organization. All I want you to feel is the absurd way in which all of these people and organizations interlock into one coherent
No, this is not real. What about it is wrong? What about what he said so far is wrong?
entity. That's the main goal. And so there's no better place to start off with than with our first name. And it's a man called Thomas McKittrick. In 1939, Thomas McKittrick would take over as the head of the Bank of International Settlements.
David Ben-Gurion was a fucking Barney the Dinosaur frontman that the Zionists put as the face. He would preach human rights and tolerance and coexistence. Markstown, what's up? But in reality, it was the Lehi and it was the Stern Gang and all these Jewish fascists who were in charge in Israel, the IDF. That's been the story of Israel. Only now recently with Netanyahu are they open about who they are. But they would put these people who are liberal or seemingly they for the world, for global audiences. That's what Ben-Gurion was. He was a front man.
McKittrick was best friends with someone you might be familiar with, a man called Alan Dulles, who was about to take up a role as the station chief in Switzerland for the OSS.
Did you guys just fucking hear this? Like, you need to understand what fucking happened in the last century.
Be familiar with a man called Alan Dulles, who was about to take up a role as the station chief in Switzerland for the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services, the precursor to the CIA. With the BIS headquarters in Basel, Switzerland, the two met frequently throughout the war. Importantly, Dulles and McKittrick were both representatives of the Rockefeller dynasty, one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful family of the 20th century. McKittrick, always loyal to the Rockefellers, would be awarded with a senior vice president role at the Rockefellers Chase Bank after fulfilling his duties at the Bank of International Settlements in World War II. When McKittrick would take up his post at Chase, he would find himself alongside another Rockefeller loyalist, John J. McCloy. McCloy had worked for the Rockefeller family estate in the 1920s and personally had taught the Rockefeller children how to sail. That included Nelson and David Rockefeller. McCloy would become a member of the Rockefellers Council on Foreign Relations, later becoming its chairman. During the war, he would act as Assistant Secretary of War, and once it was all over, he was to become the chairman of Chase Bank. As for Allen Dulles, he would act as legal counsel for Chase Bank and Standard Oil, the two jewels in the crown of the Rockefeller Empire. And after the war, he would be made the president of the Council on Foreign Relations. And by the way, McKittrick would also have a position at the Council on Foreign Relations as well. This little cozy set of relationships forces us to ask an important question. Who did McCloy, Dulles, and McKittrick really report into? Well, we're going to come back to that question a little bit later, but first, we need to really understand what the mood was like in the United States in the build-up to World War II.
This part is such a nuke, too.
In 1933, when Hitler came to power, the mood in Germany shifted dramatically. The US ambassador to Germany, William E. Dodds, who had just visited the nation after Hitler had risen to power, would report back on his findings to President Roosevelt. He would write, "Germans guilty of disloyalty to the Reich, active opposition to Hitler's government is regarded as such an offense, can be deprived of citizenship and their property confiscated. Anyone found to be anti-Nazi could be transferred to concentration camps and subjected to the routine of forced labor." Later in October of that same year, 1933, Hitler withdrew from the Disarmament Conference and the League of Nations and made no illusions about his intentions to violate the military restrictions that had been placed on Germany. The prospect of war was so prevalent that by 1934, Americans were boycotting German goods and German shipping out of fear for a new European war. And they weren't the only ones who were nervous. By 1937, Roosevelt would address the nation, warning that the very foundations of civilization were being threatened.
Some 15 years ago, the hopes of mankind for a continuing era of international peace were raised to great heights when more than 60 nations solemnly pledged themselves not to resort to arms in furtherance of their national aims and policies. The high aspirations and the hopes for peace thus raised have of late given way to a haunting fear of calamity. The present reign of terror and international lawlessness began a few years ago. Without a declaration of war and without warning or justification of any kind, civilians, including vast numbers of women and children, are being ruthlessly murdered with bombs from the air. Innocent people, innocent nations are being cruelly sacrificed. It has now reached a stage where the very foundations of civilization are seriously threatened.
This was 1937, and the president was accusing the Nazis of threatening the very foundations of civilization. And importantly, the rearmament and the bombs and the brutality that Roosevelt was decrying were not powered by Hitler alone. They rested on an industrial, financial war machine. IG Farben supplied chemicals, synthetic rubber, and synthetic fuel. Krupp supplied steels, guns, and armaments. Messerschmitt, Junkers, Henkel, and other aircraft firms built the Luftwaffe. And bankers such as Kurt von Schroeder, together with the Reichsbank, helped provide the financial architecture that made Nazi rearmament possible. These private firms were the war machine that Hitler was using. And so it follows that if these businesses could be slowed, if these financial mechanisms could be shut down, then the threats to civilization could be slowed too. But what if someone did the opposite? Well, perhaps we should go back to the friends that we were making just a little bit earlier. Because through this period, while the rest of the United States was trying to quell this machine, Rockefeller, McKittrick, Dulles, McCloy, and their friends were doing the exact opposite. The Rockefeller Standard Oil entered a special cartel agreement with IG Farben in the build-up to the war. As a Time article from the Era would report, the agreement meant Germany got the benefit of US technical developments, but the US did not get Germany's.
Can you guys fucking pay attention? Like, ones if you're paying attention to this shit. Do not fucking zoom out. Listen to this.
IG Farben in the build-up to the Standard Oil entered a special cartel agreement with IG Farben.
IG Farben and Rockefeller, listen.
In the build-up to the war. As a Time article from the Era would report, the agreement meant Germany got the benefit of US technical developments, but the US did not get Germany's. As a tangible example of this, when American workers at Standard Oil developed a new synthetic rubber called butyl, it turned the process over to IG Farben and refused to give it to the US Navy. Future President Harry Truman, who would hear about this, would accuse the Rockefellers company of treason. Later, he would state during hearings, even after we were in the war, Standard Oil of New Jersey was putting forth every effort to protect the control of the German government over a vital war material. As if this wasn't enough, IG Farben wasn't just getting exclusive access to American developments, they were also simultaneously getting legal advice from John J. McCloy, who was serving as their legal counsel. To be honest, who can blame them for seeking legal advice? As early as 1934, the House Committee on Un-American Activities had discovered that IG Farben was disseminating pro-Nazi propaganda in the United States, attempting to paper over the darker aspects of Hitler's regime. But it wasn't just Harry Truman and their House on Un-American Activities that was concerned about them. The Securities and Exchange Commission would also open an investigation in early 1938, this time into American IG, an IG Farben subsidiary operating in the US. There were suspicions the organization was being used as part of IG Farben's vast intelligence apparatus in order to spy on the US ahead of a conflict. When the SEIC team investigated, they found a remarkable list of people who were leading the American IG operation. On the board was the chairman of Standard Oil, Walter Teagle. Edsel Ford, the son of Henry Ford and the president of the Ford Company, was working there too. When Walter Teagle would be investigated by the SEIC, he pretended that he did not know the owners were IG Farben and the Nazi.
It was called American IG. He didn't even know it was IG Farben. Yeah.
Government. This is obviously absurd. And even more so when you realize that when Teagle initially joined American IG, he served alongside Dietrich Schmitz and Max Ilgner, the brother and nephew of IG Farben's CEO, Hermann Schmitz. And by the way, on Hermann Schmitz, perhaps it shouldn't be a surprise to discover that he also had a seat at the Bank of International Settlements, working happily alongside Rockefeller
Bro, these are all the same people. It's crazy.
loyalist
They were literally all like gang. It's crazy.
Thomas McKittrick. But it wasn't just IG Farben that the Rockefellers and their friends were partnering with. This same network would become deeply enmeshed with the Schroeder's banking family, too. Baron Kurt von Schroeder, the head of the Schroeder family, was a brutal anti-Semite who happily took on roles in the SS and the Gestapo. After the war, he would be described as being as guilty as Hitler or Goering. But before the war, well, he was close business partners with the Rockefellers. Together, they co-founded Schroeder, Rockefeller and Company in 1936. Allen Dulles would serve as legal counsel.
What the fuck? Allen Dulles was legal counsel for a company founded by an SS guy.
Dulles was already serving as the director of Schrobanco,
I'll tell you why this is fucking crazy, all right?
the Schroeder's bank branch in the United States. And perhaps it won't be a surprise to discover that Baron Kurt von Schroeder, the man overseeing the whole Schroeder banking network, also had a seat on the Bank of International Settlements. But
What the fuck?
there's another interesting interlock in England. Schroeder had set up a branch in London, J. Henry Schroeder's. There, he would appoint Frank Cyril Tiarks as director. Tiarks worked at the Bank of England, serving beneath Montague Norman, the governor of the Bank of England.
Guys, we always think about countries and institutions like they say follow them, like follow the individuals. These are literally the people that were fucking ruling the world.
Norman also held a seat at the Bank of International Settlements alongside Baron Kurt von Schroeder. Now, Norman is a fascinating character. As governor of the Bank of England, he was one of the most senior citizens in the build-up to World War II. And just as England was preparing to declare war on the Nazis, Norman made an astonishing decision. The Nazis had taken Czechoslovakia and had held their
One of the biggest mysteries that even I am still putting together is how did Britain end up going to war with Nazi Germany when all of the people who ruled Britain were so clearly and evidently aligned with the Nazis? And then you think about it and it's like, well, a lot of it had to do with everything on the surface. This theory is really hard to explain. But it's like on the surface, this complex web of legal international agreements were actually institutionally binding because that's what was in the public eye. And ultimately, that was on the surface, like that was what they were working with. Like sometimes the surface, the exoteric and the esoteric contradict each other, you know?
Central bank at gunpoint, telling them to transfer all of their gold reserves over to the Reichsbank. 23 tons of gold, billions of dollars worth of gold, were at stake. And that was gold that belonged to the innocent Czechoslovakian people. Since the gold was actually being held in the Bank of England, this meant the decision would have to be approved by Montague Norman. Norman approved it, using the Bank of International Settlements as an intermediary to get the gold over to the Reichsbank.
Like, think about what was the reasoning behind that.
Montague Norman.
Why did the Bank of England transfer gold from Czechoslovakia to Nazi Germany? Why? Like, they didn't have to do that. Why did they do it?
Approved the theft of billions of dollars from common people and used it to fuel a brutal fascist regime that his own countrymen were about to die fighting. Since the transfer went through the Bank of International Settlements, Norman would argue that he had to respect the neutrality of that bank during times of war. How convenient. But perhaps we shouldn't be surprised. Not only was Norman cozy with Schroeder, Schmitz, and the other Nazi financiers in the Bank of International Settlements, but he also had an astonishingly close lifelong friendship with the head of the Reichsbank, Hjalmar Schacht, who also sat on the board of the Bank of International Settlements. So close was the relationship between the two men that Montague Norman was the guest of honor at Schacht's grandson's christening.
Bro, can you think about how these personal relationships and connections were everything and still are everything in the world?
The child would even be named Norman after Montague himself.
You need to, instead of thinking about like control as like there's a shadowy cabal that controls all the decisions of the government that's in front of us, think of the way the elites used to maneuver, or even maneuver to an extent today. It's like it is an interplay between what they're selling to the public and what they're doing behind the scenes. And sometimes even what they're selling to the public is something they could be fighting with behind the scenes. Because those are different dimensions and levels of rulership and governance, you know? And it's so complicated to explain it, but it's like...
The scheming of this group was brazen, but the sheer scale of their activities still remained invisible to the public. That would change, however.
Yeah, Crunchy, you're kind of correct that, like, today, the idea of a president accusing capitalists of treason is impossible, but it was at this time. And something changed after 45, for sure.
In June of 1940. By this point, the Nazis had gone far beyond Czechoslovakia and Austria. They had seized, annexed, occupied, and invaded most of Central and Western Europe. Lithuania, Poland, Denmark, Norway, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Belgium, and now finally, they marched on France. When the Nazis finally seized Paris in mid-June of 1940, it was a sign that things were going from bad to absolutely awful. But for some, apparently this was a cause for celebration. A group of powerful American and Nazi industrialists met at the Waldorf Astoria in New York.
Bro, this is one of the craziest parts of the story. Not even the craziest, but listen to this shit. This is fucking crazy. You can research this and look it up. It's all true, 100%. Meaning even Google will not contradict it.
But for some, apparently this was a cause for celebration. A group of powerful American and Nazi industrialists met at the Waldorf Astoria in New York to mark the occasion. The party was organized by Nazi lawyer Gerhard Westrick and Dietrich Schmitz, the brother of IG Farben CEO Hermann Schmitz.
All right, just these fringe people, you know. Okay, they're clearly some Germans. Must be a bunch of Germans, right? Because this was a dinner to celebrate the Nazi capture of France. So clearly this is just like a fringe thing, right?
And they managed to find plenty of Americans who were eager to celebrate. First, there was Sosthenes Ben, CEO and founder of IT&T.
IT&T, huh? What?
Just for context, IT&T controlled all telecommunications in the United States, Britain, Germany, and many other countries as well.
What? What? The CEO of IT&T? That's even more crazy than if, like, the CEO of Verizon was at this meet. Like, you need to understand, like, this is like more than if Elon Musk was there or if Mark Zuckerberg was there. Like, this is fucking crazy.
In an age before...
And he was at a dinner celebrating the takeover of France.
The internet, telephones and telecommunications were the means of global communication. IT&T controlled all of these communications for the major war powers. To help him in his German subsidiary, Sosthenes Ben would hire Gerhard Westrick, the Nazi lawyer who was hosting this party, alongside Walter Schellenberg, the head of the Gestapo, and also Baron Kurt von Schroeder, who we've already mentioned. The IT&T subsidiary in Germany would be used to produce military equipment for the Nazis: radio sets, aircraft communications, radar, radio tubes, and the Lorenz cipher machine, the cipher used to encrypt German communications. The same ones the Allies would spend so long trying to crack. Another attendee at the party was James Mooney. Mooney was vice president at General Motors, an organization that was owned by the DuPont dynasty.
What?
Mooney would frequently meet with Hjalmar Schacht during the war, and would use his General Motors German subsidiary called Opel. By the way, Opel's a very interesting subsidiary even up to this day, but that's a story for another day. He would use that subsidiary to build Nazi technology to fight against the Allies. For his efforts, James Mooney would be made a Grand Cross in the Order of the German Eagle, the greatest honor Nazi Germany could bestow upon a non-German. What a privilege. Edsel Ford was also in attendance at this party, and his father Henry Ford would receive that same award, the Grand Cross of the German Eagle, for his loyalty to Hitler. And when you think about it, actually it makes a lot of sense, because Ford had literally prioritized the Nazis' needs over the Allies on many occasions. As war with Germany became inevitable, the British military sought Ford's help to help them prepare aircraft ahead of the Battle of Britain. Ford declined. Meanwhile, he used his German subsidiary, Ford Weck, to build vehicles for the Nazis. Think about that next time you get into one of his cars. Ford, General Motors, and IT&T subsidiaries all proactively powered the Nazi war machine that was killing their countrymen. All of them contributed to and benefited from the murderous slave labor system inside of the country too. Ford, DuPont, and Ben all remained owners of their subsidiaries. They were literally profiting off of the deaths of their countrymen. Now look, at this point, maybe it's time to recognize that we've covered enough names. We could keep going. We could discuss the Morgans, the Mellons, the Bush dynasty, Brown Brothers Harriman, the Ross...
No, he literally scratched the surface with it, for sure.
Childs, the Astors, the Bronfmans, and so many others. But I think by now, you must get the point. There was an...
Like, the entire American capitalist class was solidly behind the Germans. That's all you have to know.
Astonishing interlock with the Bank of International Settlements and the Rockefeller-Dulles nexus, Ford, General Motors, ID Farben, and Schroeder's at its core. And importantly, these groups were more powerful than the leaders that they stood behind. They were fearless. In fact, as one final short story, which I think is highly instructive for understanding the nature of this power that we're looking at, when FDR came into office in 1933, this same group of people found his plans for banking regulation so distasteful that they planned to remove him by force. The DuPonts, the Morgans, the Bush family, and their friends concocted a literal plan to remove Roosevelt and replace him with a fascist-style regime. Their German friends, Hermann Schmitz at IG Farben and Baron Kurt von Schroeder, agreed that this was a good idea. Their plan was to covertly raise an army under the legendary General Smedley Butler and then lead a march on the White House to install Butler into FDR's government to run the affairs of the administration while leaving FDR as a powerless...
This is real.
...ceremonial president. I know what I just described sounds almost impossible to believe. When I first read it, I thought this must just be a story that's been badly sourced. It is true. It's called The Business Plot. You can look it up. And it is so indicative of the thought process and perspective of this group of people that we're trying to better understand. Roosevelt avoided the plot, but no doubt knew that from that day on, he ought to tread very carefully. We should not be surprised to learn that in that same year, Roosevelt would write in a letter to a friend, the real truth of the matter is, as you and I know, that a financial element in the larger centers has owned the government ever since the days of Andrew Jackson. Given this context, perhaps it's therefore no surprise that the Rockefellers, the Fords, Morgans, DuPonts, Dulleses, Bushes, and Bens were not properly confronted for the treason that Truman had accused them of. They were already by this point untouchable. And I think this is deeply, deeply important when we turn to the UFO topic. Because if you want to understand who it is that's keeping the UFO secret, it's very easy to start after the war. It's very easy to focus on the CIA and the Air Force, and quite rightly, those institutions play a big role. But if we really want to understand who it is that's got a vice grip, not only on the defense and intelligence community, but also on the government itself, then we must learn this story, which reveals that the control, power, and manipulation goes back a lot further. Behind the Allied and Axis powers, this group acted as a third hidden actor. They fueled both sides of the war and profited greatly. They feigned support for their respective nations, while only truly staying loyal to each other. And despite this, because almost no one names them or defines them clearly, they remain practically invisible in most conversations. So let's fix that. I like Charles Hyham's terminology. He calls them the fraternity. What is a fraternity? Well, it's a brotherhood formed around common goals. And if you think about it, these various actors had more in common with each other than with the peoples of their respective countries. Yes, they were often in competition, but they were bound together by a common fear. What if the people rose up and revolted against their exploitation? What if regulation was formed and it spread from country to country? What if they lost their power? These powerful men had realized that if they fought against each other, they would become weaker. But if they worked together, they could crush any attempt at dismantling their system of power. So often we're told the government cover-up started in 1947. Well, sit tight, because the way you view the UFO issue is about to change. Forever. I know I've taken us on a really long journey there, to learn all of these names and all of these relationships, but it's only with this context that we're going to be able to open this story up and discover truly remarkable things. So thank you for being patient. I promise you, it will have been worth it.
Bro, Jason Momoa, you got to cut to the chase, bro. You got to get to the point.
With this context, now is a fantastic time to go back to the Maison Rouge meeting that happened in August.
I did. Class, pay attention. Pay attention. This part, you're going to hear some crazy shit. Pay attention, class.
1944. Because it's here that everything we've learned comes into sharp focus. Sources place the following figures at that meeting. Hjalmar Schacht, Baron Kurt von Schroeder, George von Schnitzler from the board of IG
Bro,
Farben,
it's the same
in place
people!
of Hermann Schmitz, and Casper, representative of Krupp.
I'm going to tell you what's going on. So he showed you the network, how this was transatlantic. The German part of this network met in 1945 at the Maison Rouge Hotel, where they literally plotted, and this is open, you can Google it, on how they're going to get all the capital and money out of Germany to continue the war in secret afterwards. Okay? And it's these people.
In place of Krupp. This means that the most significant German fraternity figures were all in attendance or represented at the Maison Rouge. And then you have Peter Lavender, who places some fascinating characters there alongside them. According to Lavender, Emil Hefrick, who ran the German subsidiary of Standard Oil, was in attendance, as was Dr. Sincerin, who ran the Messerschmitt subsidiary that worked closely with the German subsidiary of General Motors, Opel. And then there was Emil Heinrich Meyer, who worked for the German subsidiary of IT&T that was controlled by Sosthenes Benn. So now when you ask the question, would the American and British fraternity members have known that their colleagues in Germany were planning this vast escape plan, the answer comes into sharp focus. It's almost impossible to imagine that Rockefeller, Dulles, Sosthenes Benn, the Bank of England, and all of their friends...
Yeah, the thing about Jason Reza Giorgiani is he's not completely retarded. There are some topics he's pretty knowledgeable in, but he's like, I can't endorse him at all.
...wouldn't have known about this plan to evacuate all of this industry. And all of that, of course, is before you remember, and all of almost vast escape plan members have known that their colleagues in Germany with the American and Sosthenes Benn. So now when you ask the question, would the American and British fraternity members have known that their colleagues in Germany were planning this vast escape plan, the answer comes into sharp focus. It's almost impossible to imagine that Rockefeller, Dulles, Sosthenes Benn, the Bank of England, and all of their friends wouldn't have known about this plan to evacuate all of this industry. And all of that, of course, is before you remember that important transactions went right through the Bank of International Settlements. In March of 1945, the Reichsbank requested that 500 tons of gold, $70 billion in today's money, as we mentioned earlier, be sent to the bank in Brazil. The BIS approved it. Who was in charge at this time? Well, of course, it was Rockefeller loyalist Thomas McKittrick, meaning the Rockefellers would have had deep inside knowledge of this vast evacuation plan that was in progress. The case of Thomas McKittrick reminds us that the fraternity were not only aware of this vast evacuation, but were approving...
Robbie, what's up, man? Appreciate you.
...and facilitating it through all of their institutions. But the sheer scale of their complicity and support for their German counterparts comes into sharp, razor-sharp focus when we ask a vital question. How did the wartime intelligence agencies...
Listen now! This is the part!
...fail to detect this vast escape plan? Well, perhaps now is a good time to ask the question, who is running those intelligence agencies? The Office for Strategic Services, the precursor to the CIA, was run by Wild Bill Donovan, a Wall Street lawyer with a seat on the Council of Foreign Relations, close friends with Winthrop Aldrich, the man who was the chair at the Rockefeller-controlled Chase Bank, who recruited Alan Dulles and the Mellons to work with him at the OSS, alongside two sons of J.P. Morgan to act as special assistants to him, including Julius Spencer Morgan and Henry Sturgis Morgan. I don't think you can get any more fraternity than what we've just described, and so it's no wonder that the OSS ended up being complicit in the Nazis' escape. But there were other intelligence networks too, so perhaps we should look to them. What about the SOE, the Special Operations Executive? This was the British wartime intelligence agency that was set up in England to help deal with all of these kinds of critical issues, including monitoring where the Nazis were going and what they were doing. Well, this agency was run by someone called Charles Jocelyn Hambro. Charles Hambro ran the legendary Hambro's Bank in London and was also a director of the Bank of England, serving directly under Montague Norman. So influential and connected was Charles Jocelyn Hambro that he was even offered the governorship of the Bank of England himself, although he declined. So with Montague Norman effectively hanging behind the Special Operations Executive, I think we can potentially rule out that agency as being particularly helpful. But then there's the British Security Coordination. This was an agency run by William Stevenson. Stevenson was a long-time business partner and friend of Wild Bill Donovan, and someone who mixed with the very cream of the crop of the British elite in London before the war. Interestingly, his BSC offices were located on the 36th floor of the Rockefeller Center. The Rockefellers had offered the BSC and the SOE staff free rent inside of their building for their wartime operations. Very generous, but as we're going to see, also deeply suspicious. But what if I told you there was one more intelligence agency? One more intelligence agency that people seldom look at. Most people can not even name it. It flies under the radar so often, but it turns out that the OSS didn't have any jurisdiction in a critical area relevant to our investigation. South America.
Listen to this because it's fucking crazy. This is the part I wanted you to lock in and pay attention to because this part is fucking crazy, okay? Lock in and listen to this. I didn't know this. It was actually shocking.
The OSS didn't have any access to South America according to their wartime mandate. That was reserved for another agency, the Office for the Coordination of Inter-American Affairs. An
Office for the Coordination of Inter-American Affairs. Listen, this is crazy.
Intelligence agency dedicated to this critical region and therefore deeply, deeply relevant to the question of whether anyone would have seen all of this money and all of these people and all of this infrastructure flowing out of Europe and heading down to South America. Who do you think would be the right person to run such an agency? Who would you trust? Well, what have I told you? It was run by Nelson Rockefeller.
What the fuck? That is a bomb. That is a fucking bombshell. Nelson Rockefeller ran it directly. That is crazy.
The son of J.D. Rockefeller Jr., the man at the very center of this entire nexus that we've been analyzing. The man who'd effectively married himself to the Nazi war machine, and whose subordinates and friends were working
Yeah, like, he is at the center. Rockefeller, Council on Foreign Relations. This entire relationship with the Bank of International Settlements, like, he's the one. He's the guy.
To bypass Operation Safe Haven and set up Nazi industry in preparation for this Fourth Reich that we've discussed. This man was acting as a bottleneck for the information and intelligence on what was really going on in South America. I want you to think about this for a second, really try and digest it. The people who were organizing and executing the Maison Rouge plot were basically indistinguishable from the people who were running the Allied intelligence networks. I'm going to say it again because...
Look, this is so well organized. It's such a fucking bomb. It's such a nuke. It's so crazy.
It's so important, not just for this video and this research project, but for how we look at the world in general. The people who were running the Maison Rouge escape plan and overseeing the mass evacuation of Nazi tech and industry out of Europe were practically indistinguishable from the people who were running the Allied intelligence agencies. They were the same network. This supranational brotherhood was best friends before the war. During the war, they remained business partners and continued to make money together whilst their mutual countrymen suffered. Then they planned and executed the evacuation of Nazi industry as the war ended, and they simultaneously controlled all the intelligence agencies that were assigned to monitor and oversee them. And you know what's most important? Because they ran those intelligence agencies and they had access to all of the information within them, they could identify anything they wanted, any information that they wanted to focus on, any findings that they found to be particularly exotic or potentially profitable or maybe damaging to their peacetime industries. They could identify that intelligence and act as a bottleneck.
Who's going to be the oversight on them? Who's going to oversee them? Think about that. Who will oversee them? These are intelligence agencies. They're extremely insular. Who the fuck is overseeing them? Think about that. they control all the records. I mean, who's going to actually be checking them and making sure they're doing their job? Think about it.
On it. So here's the question. What really happened during the war? What breakthroughs were made? What scientific leaps were being worked on? And what did this group keep for themselves?
So when it starts talking about UFOs, we're going to end it there. But I just wanted, I want to make sure that's... Strauss Sandy, what's up?
As General Patton's Third Army swept through Europe, they weren't just...
Okay, so this part is... I'm not going to show you this part because it's really speculative and... well, I didn't double check it. I can't responsibly show it to you. I never looked into it. So I can't verify it. I can't vouch for it. But this is the video, The Secret Company That's Hiding UFOs by Jason Samosa. You want to watch the rest of it yourself. We're going to end it there. And I can't speak for the UFO stuff or anything like that, but that specific segment where he's mapping out all the connections, where he's talking about the Maison Rouge meeting, where he's talking about how the only intelligence agency responsible for monitoring what's going on in South America was run by Nelson Rockefeller, and how there was a transfer of $500 billion, or sorry, 500 million tons, I don't fucking know how much, of gold to the Bank of Brazil by the Nazi Maison Rouge ringleaders. Well, it would have been the job of an intelligence agency to be like, what are they transferring it for? What is the purpose behind this? And yet, though we know that they had plotted in the Maison Rouge Hotel for creating a Fourth Reich after the war and continuing, the agenda in secret, that was never intercepted by the intelligence agencies or acted upon. So, you can only think about what could have happened. But then you have to consider something really interesting. The people who owned all the communications, ITT, the people in charge of the biggest industries in the company, General Motors, Ford, you're talking about people, captains of steel, the oil industry, the energy industry. You think about America, it's like these are the people who own the country, right? And they are directly coordinating with and tied at the hip with the people who run Germany, right? And so you got to think about the question. It's like, what was World War II? What was actually going on? We know what's going on the Eastern Front better, but what's going on this side? Like, what was actually happening? There was a transatlantic cabal that was clearly coordinating together and plotting something. And then you had these governments that were at war. And it's like, what is the real story? It's so fucking fascinating. But anyway, guys, it's been a great stream. It is 2 a.m. I know some people say I'm stupid, I'm crazy for ending it here. But I hope you enjoyed it. And, I told you today's stream would be substantive, and it was. Chris, what's up, man? Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Told you it would be substantive, and it was, And so, yeah, once again, let's thank Sneeko for this raid. And, if you're a Sneeko viewer, welcome, And, great stream, So I told you it would be substantive and it would be high quality, and, that's the point. So anyway, guys, I will be seeing you soon, probably Sunday, potentially earlier. And I'm going to commit to doing earlier streams. The late streams are, I know, they're crazy, 11 p.m. My schedule's still fucked up because of this long summer. But in any case, guys, I think I have finished some of the more critical work for the party regarding the National Congress for now. I think I should have at least a few weeks. And now I can finally get back to my essay, the Islam and Marxism essay, and I can finally focus on that and focus on the things I'm passionate about, I can finally get back to it. I can finally just spend time on it. Cap, bro, fuck you. Honestly, fuck you. Fuck you if you don't understand that if I can't attend to things, it's literally because I'm being incapacitated and I'm not being allowed to because of how much I have to fucking focus on party shit, right? I'm telling you, I now have free time and I'm glad that I can now spend time on, this shit. So that's all I could tell you, So I will see you guys Sunday probably, right? Have a great weekend. Goodbye.